Ayo, ring the bell, baby. 4,900 meter PB. Yes, we are here at the course. Now, I'm gonna say it was billed as a 5K online when I signed up. And so I wore my Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris because those are my favorite 5K shoes. Had I known it was gonna be a 4,900 meter course and they were gonna short it 100 meters, I would have worn my Nike Vaporflight Next% fakes, my deep fakes. I got these from across the world a couple years ago when there was a shortage. You could see the Nike ZoomX foam here. So soft, best in the game. Anyway, we're gonna take a tour of the course. Don't forget to tip your server by subscribing to the channel. Let's get to it. All right, I'm gonna tell you how it went. Here we go. Okay, so update also, there is a 220 marathoner named Matt Fox. He's a real sicko. He stalks pro runners and he follows them around, and then he goes and films their workouts and puts them up on YouTube. His channel is called Sweat Elite. You should totally subscribe to that. And he's got something called the Sweat Elite Coaching Academy, which I'm signed up for, which means that Matt Fox is my coach. Now, I imagine he just prescribes me the same workouts as Kipchoge and Gabriel Salesi. Today, we have a 60-minute easy run. I think he took that one from Connor Mance. So today, I'm gonna train like an Olympian. All right, we're approaching the trailhead here. Trailhead. Now, coming down here, it starts to wind. It's very windy, it's very bendy, like the bended neck lady. If this was a Harry Potter house, it would be Ravenclaw, or which one is Slytherin? It's definitely Slytherin. It's giving Slither. Let me show you. Here we go. So you're coming down. It's the only downhill portion. And then you turn. And then you turn. And then you turn. So doing a little bit of recon earlier in the week and coming down here, I knew that coming at 5K pace on the streets, on the pavement, I think I'm capable of maybe like a 540 or 545 pace. I wasn't gonna be able to do that. Here's the greenway. We're gonna take a left. From here, it kind of straightens out. But anyway, what happened was my strategy for this race was, since very at the beginning, I was gonna be doing all this back and forth, I would try to go out at about a 6 minute a mile or 3:45 a kilometer. And so I also set my watch for 400 meter splits because your boy over here suffers from ADD, and I forget to look at my watch. I just start running and I'm like, oh, look at those shoes. Oh, nature is beautiful. And then my watch beeps at me and I'm like, oh, I'm running a race. Okay, a little faster or a little slower. So my first 400 meter split was 1:24. It's a little fast. That's like a 5:36 pace, but it was like 6 minute effort. It was just a lot of downhill back there. Okay, now we're coming up to my favorite part. There is a 90-degree turn that has a blind turn here. Look. They have a mirror up there so you can see who's coming around the corner, because cyclists love this greenway as well, because it's 85. There's a speed limit, but there's so much miles. You can get on here as a cyclist, not worry about cars. So I took that one. Oh yeah, first 400 meter was a 1:24, a little too fast. Settled in 1:28 for the second one, which is a 5:52 pace, and then I eased up into a 6 minute pace. For the next two, it was like 1:30. My first mile was at 5:52, which again, I was okay with because I knew my last mile would be above 6, because I had to go slither my way back up the hill. For the weather on the day, Florida-esque, Florida-like, Florida adjacent. It was Georgia, because I think Georgia's adjacent to Florida. Okay, so my splits for the second mile, the first 400, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was like a 1:30 and then maybe like a 129, which would put us about halfway into the turnaround for the out and back. And when we get to the out and back, I'm gonna film it, so looks like it's coming up here. So I'll be able to show you why the course was short 100 meters. So that's where they have the out and back, where you stop and come back. Because if you keep going forward, you'll see that that's a major highway here, and the course runs underneath the highway right here, but there's an access road that you would have to cross. It's a small 5K. They're not going to shut down the highway for it, so that has to be the turnaround point no matter what. Okay, so after the out and back, I had to stop and come back. I was worried about losing too much time, so I put a little burst, and I ended up with the 131, and then the next 400 was 131. So for the second mile, my overall pace was a 6:01. So 5:52 the first mile, 6:01 the second mile. That gave me about 7 seconds to go back up the hill. This blind turn was downhill, so I'll show you what it's like. I had to climb. I don't know if you can see elevation on this thing. Almost hit a couple runners coming here. So the corner behind coming through. Now there was one kid in front of me, and he set out probably 6-minute pace, so I was ahead of him for the first mile. Then he overtook me, and we were running stride for stride, and then he started turning it up on the back here. In retrospect, I probably wish I would have put a surge to go catch up with him and get on his heels a little bit more. I got second place overall first Masters because I'm old. Now coming back up that little bend around in that hill, I think it was a 133 or 134, and I was okay with it. I knew I had 7 seconds to play with. I knew I was gonna lose some time on the last uphill. So I picked up my pace in the last mile after that first 400 back to a 130. And then of course I'm 2.5 miles into a 5K. So I was really hurting and just pushing. The next 400 was a 133. And that put me in the last 400 slithering my way back up the hill, which I pushed. I got a 134. So I think it was 6:11 for the last mile. So 5:52, 6:01, 6:11. It put me at 18:04 coming through 3 miles with 200 to go in theory, but I'll show you why that didn't happen. All right, at this point in the race, and you have to forgive, I've been watching a lot of Nick Bester lately on his 5K, 10Ks, now that I'm getting into 5Ks and 10Ks. Come on, Andrew, come on. So if I say here, if I say here a lot, then it's definitely a Nick Bester influence. Here, come on, Andrew, it's spicy. See, we're going up, climbing up. And then you end up in this circle, which is where we started. And even though the start line was over this way, right there, we're gonna run this way, and we're gonna run around that little field. And I had a feeling it was like, you know, that's not 200 meters. It feels short. And when I came around the bend at the very end, I saw 18:20, and I was like, there's no way. Because I know a 6-minute pace should put me around an 18:45. So I thought the finish line was right after this bush. So I'm gunning it. Oh, just kidding. There's no finish line. It's around this next bush. 4,900 meter champion. Here we go. I was on the ground. Now, the big question is that a 5K PB or not? And some of you online have been very kind and been like, nice PB, way to go. I'm not counting it as a PB because I didn't run the 5K distance, 4,900 meter PB, but not a 5K PB because it's hypothetical. Yes, I could have run another 100 meters or 20, 25 seconds at that same pace, but I didn't, right? So it reminds me of like when I was a kid and I would argue with all my friends about sports. Well, if this player didn't get injured, then whatever, and if this hadn't happened, whatever. But that's the way it is. Like when I first started running, I was a total nerd with the data, and I would like get on there and I'd see the gap. What was my grade adjusted pace? And then there's online calculators with the weather, so I could go in and I could put it in and be like, well, if I was running in good conditions, this would have been 1845, would have been a 1754, right? And that's not even taking out the elevation. It could have been a little bit faster, but the temperatures were not 55 degrees. They were 88 degrees or whatever, right? And there are hills. And when I run Marine Corps Marathon, I can't be like, well, I held pace for 20 miles. It's just the last 6 that got me. No, I'm running a marathon and it is not a flat course. So you have to, everyone factors in the hills because everyone's running the same course. So anyway, I'm not counting this as a 5K PB. Now, this is the part where, as a sneaky, crafty little YouTuber, I say, you know, let me know in the comments below whether or not you think it's a PB or not, controversial. So that way you engage with the content and then more of my content ends up on your page and then you watch more of my stuff. But I'm not gonna do that, no. Because God gave us free will and you're free to make your own choice. You hit that like button if you so choose. You subscribe if you so choose. All right, I got to finish this run.
Keep the same energy. Work on being better when I'm 70. Your drip is just a water spring. You know I drip different, just the 7 seas.